So in this problem, we have minus x plus y minus z is equal to negative 14, and so on and so forth. We have the problem. We basically take it from the first form it's given and we convert it into this version that looks like, more like your Gauss-Jordan elimination start, situation. Again, what we want at the end is either a situation like this, a situation like this, or a situation like this. Because the idea is that if we were to get a situation like this, first one, then whatever is here is the x value. Whatever is here is, if we get the second situation, that will be the y value. And if we get the third situation, that will be the z value. So keep that in perspective as you work through the problem. So looking at this problem here, we ask ourselves, is there anything we can do to get a zero somewhere, right? So we look at it and we go, I wonder if I can multiply the first row by 2 and add it to the second row to create a new second row. So you do that, and that can help you create a new second row. So again, there are multiple ways to tackle these types of problems. The idea is just know what you're trying to get and what you need to do in order to get it. And so let's look at so this situation. If I multiply the first row by 2, that means that if I add it to the second row, that would create a 0 in the first spot with the second row, with the new second row. Okay, so imagine you have row 1, row 2, and row 3, and imagine if you can take the first row, multiply it by 2, and then add it to the second row. That then will replace your second row from what it was in the beginning of the problem, and that's how it works. You manipulate one of the rows and you allow it to interact with a certain row and take over that row. Okay, so let's use what I just said. So if we have negative 1, 1, negative 1, and 14, for time purposes, I'm not going to put the 3 dots. We'll just put it, I guess we could create a table like this and just keep copying and pasting the table just for time. So we have negative 1, 1, negative 1, negative 14. We have 2, negative 1, 1, and 21. And we have 3, 2, 1, and 19. If we took the first row and multiplied it by 2, so sorry about that. If we took the first row, multiplied it by 2, that will become minus 2, 2, minus 2, minus 28, right? Imagine if this is an intermediate step, but imagine you allow these two to add. That means your new second row, okay, your first row is still going to be the same, 14, negative 14, 21, and 19. And then we have negative 1, 1, negative 1. Now our new second row will be 0 here because 2 minus 2 is 0. And then minus 1 plus 2, that will give me a 1. And then 1, 1, and minus 1, they will give you a minus 1. And then the minus 7 will come from, if I take 21 and then add it to 28, I will get minus 7. So I apologize, I wrote down, I started filling out the constant value here, but this is actually going to be negative 7. So this is my new row 2. This is my original row 1. And my row 3 is still, let's see, for row 3, let's just write it out as it is, 3, 2, 1, and 19. Okay, now I look at it and go, what can I do? Is there something I could do to get rid of this row 3 to make it so it has more zeros? I wanted to have at least 1 0. Well, what you could do is you could take row 1, so you multiply row 1 by 3. That will make it negative 3, 3, negative 3, and then negative 42. Okay, and then imagine if you took this and added it to the current row 3. If you add it to current row 3, notice that again at this point we have, so we have our original row 1, and that's a negative 14. We have our new row 2, which we formed, which is 0, 1, negative 1, and negative 7. And now our row 3, we're going to have this which is 3 times row 1. We're going to add that to the current row 3, and the current row 3 is 3, 2, 1, 19. So that's 3 minus 3, so that'll give me 0. 2 plus 3 is 5, and then we're going to take 1 minus 3 is negative 2, and 19 minus 42, and that gives us negative 23. So that's my row 1 original, right? This is new row 2 and a new row 3. But we're not done yet because we don't have any of them in this orientation. So we need to continue the work until we get to that level. So what we can do now is, what if we took row 1, right? What if we imagine if you multiply by row 2 by negative 5, right? If you did that and then added it to row 3, why are we going to do that? Well, because if we multiply row 2 by negative 5 and then we add it together to this row, notice that it's going to create a 0 there, which will then give us a chance to possibly approach a 1 there, right? That's part of the idea. So row 2, let's multiply that by 5, negative 5. We're going to have 0, we're going to have negative 5, we're going to have positive 5, and we're going to have so we're multiplying that by 5, so we're going to have 35. We take this value, right, and we're going to add it to row 3, which is 0, 5, negative 2, and negative 23. We're going to add those two together. We're going to have a 12, we're going to have a 3, we're going to have a 0 and a 0. Because we have a 3 and a 12, this is now the new row 3, right? So maybe we can start calling this row 3 version 2, right? We can start looking for a way to call these. This is the same thing as 3z is equal to 12, so z is equal to 4. That's what this means. So if z is equal to 4, you could go back in your equation. You could go back in your equation and say, what if z is 4? Let me look at my equation here, and from my equation I had and then I have a situation where y minus, so you take the z is equal to 4 and you plug it back into the other equations in question. So we had negative x plus y minus z is equal to negative 14. That was one of the things that we had. So let's go back to that equation. So we had so when we set it up properly, we will get it to this form. But before we do that, so let's remember z is equal to 5. Z is equal to 4. We're going to go back, plug that into our equation, and then we'll go from there. So we can write out the equations. We had minus x plus y minus z is equal to negative 14. We can set up, using the knowledge you have of solving systems of equations, take that one that you found and use it to find the y, and then use it to find the x. That's how I would approach this one. So y is equal to negative 3, and then x minus 3 plus 4 is equal to 14. We solve for x. So let's see how we can plug this back into our original equation. Like just to show our work for how we found the remaining ones. We know how we found z by manipulating all the rows. But now we can try and see how we find y and so on and so forth. Let me know if you have any questions on this one. But once you find z, you basically can take it back and use it to find what you need.